Have you ever walked away from a moment with a man and felt the energy still clinging to the air as if something invisible remained? Like your presence carried a weight even after you were gone? That's not magic, it's psychology. And today, we're uncovering the real reason why some women stay in a man's mind while others fade quickly. It's not about looks. It's not about clever texts, red lipstick, or the perfect flirty phrase. What makes a man think about you when he's lying in bed? What keeps him checking his phone, playing your laugh in his head, and wondering why he can't stop thinking about you runs far deeper. It's something instinctive, something emotional. And once you grasp it, you'll never see love the same way again. In this video, we're diving into what I call the lingering effect. It's the power of emotional imprinting. How to make your presence echo in his thoughts long after you're gone. It's not a trick, and it's not manipulation. It's about being so real that he actually feels you. Because when a man truly feels you, he won't forget you. If you've ever felt unseen, if you've ever felt like men move on too fast or forget you too easily, this will change the game. Stay with me, because what you're about to learn isn't shallow dating advice. It's the real science of connection wrapped in the soul of true emotional intimacy. Once you get this, you won't just walk through his life. You'll stay in his memory. People often assume men are emotionally basic, that they just want physical beauty, respect, or admiration. But deep down, what men long for is rarely spoken about, even by them. It's something they don't always have the words for, and often don't even realize they're craving until they feel it. And when they do, it stays with them forever. Men crave emotional safety, not just comfort or validation, but the feeling of being seen for who they truly are. A man becomes hooked on the woman who makes him feel like more than what the world expects from him. In a world that constantly demands he perform, protect, and provide, what he really longs for is to be seen, not just for his strengths, but for his fears, his softness, and his hidden insecurities. He wants to breathe emotionally. And a woman who gives him that space without asking him to sacrifice his masculinity becomes unforgettable. Men also want to feel chosen, not just needed. They want to know that the woman they're with sees them, not just their accomplishments or potential, but the human beneath all of that. The version of them that's real, vulnerable, and unsure. When a woman holds space for that version, without judgment, she becomes irreplaceable. Beyond that, men want to feel emotionally desired, not just admired for what they do, but wanted for who they are when they're vulnerable. It's a quiet longing to feel safe in silence, to be accepted in stillness, not just praised in performance. They want to be weak and still feel worthy, but few places give men that space, and even fewer women do. So when they find it, when they feel emotionally naked and still respected, they remember it forever. Here's the truth that changes everything. A man can meet 100 attractive women, but if you're the one who touches that emotional nerve, if you're the one who lets him drop the act and still feel enough, he'll keep coming back to you in his thoughts. Men aren't immune to emotional intimacy. They're starved for it, and they don't realize it until they feel it from someone who offers it naturally. That's why connection always beats attention. You can be the most stunning woman in the room and still be forgotten. But if you speak to a part of him no one else touches, the scared part, the unsure part, that's the part that reaches for you long after you're gone. And here's the twist. Men don't crave this from every woman. They crave it from the woman who embodies both softness and strength. The woman who knows who she is, who doesn't bend to please, and who loves from grounded self-worth. She doesn't offer comfort in exchange for closeness. She doesn't fix him. She simply holds her space in truth And through that, invites him to become a more honest version of himself. That's what men truly want. Not a fantasy, not perfection, not someone who expects him to be strong all the time, but someone who understands even the strongest men want to be held, understood, and truly felt. She knows the power of presence, and she doesn't use it to manipulate. She uses it to connect. When you offer that, not every man will be ready for it, but the right one will never forget it, because emotional safety is rare, and once he feels it, it lingers. There's a reason why some people stay on your mind, why their name on your screen makes your heart race even after weeks apart. That's not just chemistry. That's emotional psychology. And with men, one thing keeps you living in his mind. It's the lingering effect. It's the emotional residue you leave behind. It's not the perfect words or your flawless appearance. It's how he feels in the quiet after you're gone. Most women try to impress in the moment, but the women who create obsession, they know how to echo. They say little but leave much behind. It's not about being hard to get or emotionally distant. It's about creating emotional contrast. Men become obsessed with women who disrupt their emotional patterns. In a world full of shallow talk and distractions, the woman who makes him feel deeply even for 5 minutes becomes unforgettable because he's not used to it. He doesn't even know he craves emotional depth until he experiences it with you. Then he replays it in his mind. That's where obsession begins, not in his eyes, but in his emotional memory. What lingers isn't your beauty, it's the way you made him pause, the way you looked at him when he opened up, the ease with which you walked away instead of chasing, the calm confidence in your energy. That's what sticks, because emotional imprinting happens when you shake someone out of autopilot. The women who linger understand subtlety. They don't overshare or overask. They leave space for imagination, for feelings to rise, for his curiosity to unfold. When you don't fill every silence, when you end a conversation with just a little mystery, it gives you the chance to move toward you. Not because he has to, but because he wants to. And it's desire, not obligation, that creates obsession. Here's something few realize. When you create a powerful emotional moment and walk away without trying to control the outcome, a man feels the impact. That's when he starts wondering about you, replays your words, rereads your messages, and remembers that smile you gave before saying goodbye. Because obsession doesn't happen when you're present, it's born in your absence. And there's real power in that. Obsession isn't about chasing someone. It's about leaving an emotional imprint so strong they chase the feeling of being around you again. The calm you carried, the peace you brought, the way you saw them when nobody else did. So if you want to become the woman he can't stop thinking about, don't try to impress him, impact him. Leave him a little better than you found him. Then walk away whole. Don't overstay, don't over-explain, let the silence work for you. Because it's not about being everywhere, it's about being unforgettable in the places that matter. The lingering effect isn't manipulation, it's mastery. The mastery of your energy, your presence, your emotional clarity, and your boundaries. When you become the kind of woman who stands firm in her power without clinging to the result, you make space for obsession to grow naturally. Because obsession isn't just about wanting you, it's about feeling you long after you're gone. And when a man feels you like that, he won't just think about you, he'll crave you. Attraction isn't random. It doesn't just happen. It's sparked by intentional behaviors, small emotional triggers that change everything. Those quiet moments become powerful cues, the kind that speed up his heartbeat and stir his imagination. They aren't loud or obvious, they're subtle and real. And once you know how to create those moments, you'll stop wondering whether he likes you. You'll see it in the way he leans in before you even speak. That's the quiet power of emotional imprinting. That's the lingering effect, different dimensions of your personality in a single interaction, softness and confidence, playfulness and depth, curiosity and calm. Why does that work? Because people remember variety. They're emotionally impacted when you surprise them without even meaning to. Imagine this, you're having a light, flirty conversation and suddenly you say something thoughtful or reflective that carries insight. That unexpected moment makes him pause. You just shifted the tone, and that shift hooks him. Because now you're not predictable, you're real. Another powerful emotional trigger is genuine presence. Very few people truly listen these days. But when you look a man in the eyes, nod at the right times, laugh fully when something's actually funny, and pause before replying, you're doing something rare. You're showing up. And that kind of presence makes a man feel like he matters. Most men are constantly performing at work, online, even while dating. But when he senses he can relax around you, that moment becomes magnetic. That's when he starts chasing your energy. Then there's the quiet magnetism of expressing value. Not bragging or oversharing, but just naturally showing that your life is already full, meaningful, and in motion without him. Maybe you mention a book you're into, a trip you planned with your friends, or a personal goal you're working on. These moments show that you're not waiting around for a relationship to give your life purpose. You're already living. And that energy, a woman fulfilled, moving forward, and growing, is one of the most attractive things a man can witness. It sends a clear message without a single boastful word. If you want to be part of my world, you need to bring something genuine too. And then there's self-restraint, holding back when others would overshare, staying composed when others would lash out, choosing not to explain yourself just to be understood. Those small choices show emotional maturity. And emotional maturity is rare. It's magnetic. It tells a man, you don't need chaos to feel powerful. You're powerful because you have control over your emotions. Men feel safest with women like that. And safety, contrary to popular belief, doesn't kill attraction, it deepens it. Curiosity is another massive trigger. When you show a man that you're genuinely curious about who he is, not just what he does for a living, but what drives him, what he secretly desires, what shaped how he sees the world, you instantly stand out. Not because you're interrogating, but because you're inviting him into a space where he feels noticed. And here's the twist. When a man feels truly seen by you, he naturally starts wanting to see more of you. He becomes curious right back. And that's where real connection begins. Real attraction isn't about acting perfect. It's about being emotionally grounded and present in a way that feels refreshing. When you emotionally trigger a man through contrast, presence, curiosity, and quiet confidence, he doesn't just think you're attractive. He feels it. And that kind of impact goes deeper. That's what lingers. Because at the end of the day, attraction isn't just about what's visible, it's about what's felt. Trigger the right feelings, and you don't just catch his eye, you hold his focus. Long after you're gone. Here's a difficult truth. Obsession doesn't end because someone stops liking you. It fades because you unknowingly killed the very sense of mystery that made you unforgettable. Mental obsession isn't born from your presence. It's born from what someone feels when you're not around. Unfortunately, a lot of women unintentionally destroy that feeling with a few common habits that seem harmless, but are actually silently eroding desire. What's the first one? Over-explaining. When you constantly feel the need to clarify every decision, explain every feeling, or over-text to fix every little misunderstanding, you think you're building intimacy, but you're really removing all intrigue. Obsession grows from curiosity. If he already knows every thought you have, there's nothing left to wonder about. And without wonder, there's no emotional tension. Another subtle obsession killer is being too emotionally available. Yes, being kind and supportive matters. But if you're always instantly replying, always there to comfort him, always prioritizing his needs over your own, you stop being a mystery. You stop being a challenge. And whether we like it or not, men are pulled toward a certain kind of challenge. Not games, but that beautiful balance that says, I want you. That's what makes you magnetic. Overgiving is another silent issue. It creates imbalance. It can feel like you're trying to earn his love instead of mirroring his energy. That's when the emotional scales tip and the connection starts slipping. Another pattern that kills mental grip: trying too hard to prove your worth. Maybe you subtly mention how busy you are, how many people are interested in you, or how valuable you are compared to others, but instead of creating desire, it creates pressure. And pressure doesn't spark obsession. Presence does. The moment you start trying to win someone over is the moment the energy shifts. You move from being desirable to seeking validation. And that energy shift is easy to feel. Another destructive habit: trying to control the outcome. If you're constantly thinking about where things are going, how he's feeling, or if he's pulling back, you stop flowing. You start grasping, and that grasping energy feels heavy. Even if you try to hide it, energy speaks louder than words. And emotional neediness, it suffocates desire. Let's talk about predictability, doing the same things over and over, texting at the same times, saying yes to everything, reacting the same way, builds routine. And while routine is great in long-term relationships, obsession is born from a spark, a pause, a moment that makes him stop and take notice of you all over again. When you're too predictable, he may like you, but he won't crave you. And perhaps the most dangerous habit of all, abandoning your own life. When you stop pouring into your passions, your friendships, your creativity, and start pouring everything into him, you start revolving around him. And when you orbit around him, he no longer feels pulled toward you. People chase movement. If you're standing still, there's nothing to pursue. Obsession grows when he sees you glowing, growing, and evolving with or without him. Here's the truth. If you want to live in a man's mind long after the moment passes, you can't be too accessible, too eager, or too focused on how he feels. You have to be the woman who knows her presence is powerful, but doesn't force it on anyone. You have to let space do some of the work. Obsession is born in the space between your interactions, not in constant contact. Be unforgettable, not overly available. That's what lingers. Deep desire isn't triggered by grand gestures. It isn't born from flashy looks or dramatic confessions. The strongest kind of longing, slow burning, can't stop thinking about you desire, starts in the small, quiet moments most people miss. These are the subtle signals that slip past logic and go straight into his emotions. One of the most powerful things you can do: own the silence. Most people try to fill it out of nervousness. But a woman who can sit still, meet his gaze, and let the quiet breathe, that woman is unforgettable. That stillness says, I'm not uncomfortable in this moment, and men notice. Because in that space, their minds start to wander. Who is she? What is she thinking? Why isn't she trying to impress me? That kind of wonder is what creates mental obsession. It's glue. It keeps him leaning in. Another powerful yet gentle move: intentional touch. Not clingy or obvious, just a quick hand on his arm when you laugh, a soft touch on his shoulder as you walk past, or a light graze on his back as you move through a doorway. Those touches seem small, but to the male nervous system, they light up like sparks. They say safety, playfulness, connection, all without speaking. But here's the key: it only works if it's rare. The power is in how unexpected it is. Desire thrives in absence, not excess. Want to pull him in even deeper? Eye contact with just a slight delay. Don't glance away too quickly. Let your eyes hold for a second or two longer than normal. That moment when your eyes lock and stay, it's electric. You don't need words. Just allow him to feel seen. Men don't often get looked at that way. When they do, it sticks. It creates connection without conversation. It's soft, it's commanding, and it lingers. Selective vulnerability is another move most women overlook. Instead of spilling your whole story or trying to seem perfect, share one honest human insight, but do it lightly. For example, saying something like, I used to second guess myself a lot until I learned how to show up differently, says more than a 5-minute explanation ever could. It hints at depth. It says you've lived. That kind of emotional credibility invites curiosity. It shows you've got layers. without laying them all out at once. Even your voice can be a tool. When you slow your pace and lower your tone slightly, you naturally draw people in. It invites him to lean closer, to tune in more carefully. It makes the moment feel more intimate, more real. And all of this, the stillness, the touch, the eye contact, the energy, it tells him something he won't even realize at first. There's something about her I can't shake. And that's where obsession truly begins.